Esoterically, Apedemak represents the awakened inner fire, the point at which a human being becomes more than flesh and begins to move in alignment with cosmic law and with the whole world, right? In many scenes at Naqa, Apedemak is shown as towering over kings holding weapons and spears. Yet these enemies can also be interpreted symbolically. When you see these pictures of them knocking down the enemies, there it may be symbolic. They may represent the inner chaos, the issues that we have on the inside, unmastered emotions, base instincts. They may get out. Y'all, when I mentioned the secret chambers under the pyramids, I said it may not be physical, it may be a spiritual thing. These people here that are knocking out these enemies, it may not be a physical enemy, it may be a spiritual enemy. It may be their own flaws they're trying to take out. They may be trying to work something that's going on within themselves. You know, so to be a devotee of Apedemak, right? It was not just to seek physical dominance, but to engage in spiritual battle of self-mastery. Yeah. So esoterically, like I said, he's awakening the inner fire, at a point in which a human becomes more than flesh, but he becomes a part in line with cosmic law. And in many scenes, he is shown towering over the kings and everything. Yet these enemies can be interpreted as inner chaos, unmastered emotions, all these things, right? Now, somebody asked about divine masculinity and royal alchemy, okay? Now, unlike many other pantheons, the Kushite spiritual system did not pit masculine and feminine deities against each other, okay? In the Lion Temple, both king and queen were shown together making offerings to Apedemak. They were both together. Okay, this is not a political symbolism, it's a metaphysical instruction that we need both masculine and feminine power. Okay, we need light and dark. We need all these things. They represent the union of solar, stellar, and lunar energies within the initiate. Whoever is seeking that kind of knowledge, Apedemak accepts their offerings only when duality is reconciled. You cannot be against men. You can't be against women. We need each other, right? Okay, so this reflects the principles of Ma'at in Kush. Okay, let me show you. This represented Ma'at. They may not have had a feather, but they may have had a king and a queen standing next to the ancestor or next to the Heteru. That was balance to them. Okay, and so this was the inner harmony. Okay, the king and queen were also initiates. Their presence at the temple suggests that the rulership in Kush was not only political but initiatic. The ruler had to undergo symbolic death and resurrection in the temple. Just as the Apedemak conquers chaos, so must the king conquer his lower self. The alchemical path of African spirituality, African knowledge. The king forged like iron, tested in fire, crowned not just with gold, but with divine knowledge, right? The sacred temple as a divine engine, the temple as a sacred engine. Yeah. Let me see. I heard that the underground levels of the temples were spiritual dimensions before. Yep, they are. And true enough, of course, there are some locations that have actual physical chambers, but a lot of these things, there was always multifaceted, multi-layered. It was twofold. It was duality in that. There were the inner chambers of the soul that we had to deal with, right? So a lot of people looking for and digging around, looking for underground chambers where you have to dig in your own heart to find these secret places. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So now dealing with the sacred temple, the Lion Temple itself is an esoteric machine built with precise geometric proportions and oriented according to solar and stellar alignment. It functions as an energetic resonator designed to channel and amplify spiritual frequency. The inner sanctuary, or naos, is likely reserved for high-level initiates. There's levels to this thing, right? Those who are trained in the mysteries of Apedemak, which may have included breath work, dream incubations, invocations, and fasting. These rites they would have these rites during certain times of the year. Each relief on the temple wall isn't just decorate. It wasn't just for decoration. It gave them instruction. It gave them metaphysical laws and rules, regulations. For example, Apedemak emerging from a lotus is a motive seen in the temple, signifying the birth of the divine consciousness or the mind. Okay, from the primordial waters. We talked about the primordial waters in noon before. The lotus, which blooms from the mud, is another form of spiritual awakening. Furthermore, so the use of the lion form, the three lion heads, represents the trifold nature of divine consciousness, past, present, and future. The funny part is we had that illustration of the Heteru and Maquette with the two lions and the sun and the horizon in the middle. Now we have the Lion Temple doing the same thing. We have Apedemak doing the same thing. So you see these past, present, future imageries, mind, body, and soul imageries, or alchemy terms, sulfur, mercury, and salt throughout the Nile Valley before Europe, right? So one more time, we have the illustration of the king and the queen and Apedemak together, okay? And this may not be a physical battle. This may not be a physical battle they had to endure, but it may be a spiritual one. Okay. And we all had to deal with that. And I think that the temple of Waset, illustrating Ramses in his battle at the Battle of Kadesh, is another representation of that spiritual battle. Yes, the Battle of Kadesh was a physical battle for sure, but I believe that it was also a spiritual battle that Ramses had to do and had to go through himself. Okay. Now, so Apedemak was the watcher of the threshold. He was the watcher of the threshold, right? And so the esoteric tradition, every initiate must face a guardian at the threshold, a symbolic force that tests their purity before they can enter the higher states of consciousness or the 12 gates of the Heteru, in the book of Gates, right? Apedemak, with his fierce countenance as lion, served as this function, right? He's the gatekeeper of the inner sanctum of sanctuary of the soul, okay, where the latent potential is refined into divine identity. If by chance the initiate carries impurity, ego, fear, or imbalance, the Heteru, the ancestors, will destroy that. Okay, it won't destroy them, but it will purify, it will destroy those issues, right? But if they are aligned with them, with that, they will be empowered with courage and vision, right? This is echoed throughout the temple. And so you will see that balance throughout the temple. Let me see. Can we say this was the start of the Trinity ideology? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure. I can't. I don't. I try not to go too far into the weeds when it come down to Trinitarian, but it was always three. It was always something similar. Was it the same as what we know? What we know today? No, but similar. Like three different things and three different characteristics or three different roles. Right? Okay. Oh, Love Child. Shout out to Love Child. Okay, she got them beats. All right, she's great. Yeah, M Hotep. Okay, peace. All right, Volta. Shout out to the fam. Now, here we go. So, the lion and the ancestors. In many African traditions, the lion is a symbol of ancestral power. In Ethiopia and Sudan and other parts of the continent, the lion is not feared but respected as a messenger of the divine or the Heteru. Apedemak in this light becomes not just another deity or god, but a spiritual archetype of the deified ancestor, a warrior king who ascends into divinity. Okay. With and watches over the land. Okay, we hear the stories like the Lion King and many others, right? And it's funny how Europe would use a lion, but they don't have lions in their area. I'm just saying, So, but I digress. This is important because it shows the Kushite religion is not disconnected from Kemet or Ethiopia, but it's connected to all the people. The Heteru wasn't distant; they was right. They was right there. They were reflections of human potential, elevated through ritual, initiation, and legacy. Apedemak was both protector and aspiration. It was an ideal. Okay. In his temple, rulers reaffirmed the covenant with the land, the ancestors, and the cosmos. Apedemak, when it comes down to African memory, though modern religions have tried to erase him, modern phenomenon had tried to do away with him, Apedemak survives in code within his symbolism, within across Ethiopia, Sudan, and Central Africa, in the Lion clans, royal regalia, even in the Rastafarian movement, the line of the tribe of Judah. You hear and see that. He's a living archetype of ancestral power, the part of the African soul that cannot be colonized. You're very welcome. The line of Naqa is not extinct, it's not over. He simply waits for those who are ready to reclaim their cosmic inheritance. All right. Now, Mo asked the question. He asked the question: is there a connection between Sekhmet and the Heteru and Maquette? See, y'all playing the dirty game. Y'all know when y'all ask me a question like that, I got something for it. Okay. Yeah. Brother Mo asked the question. Shout out to Brother Mo. He's here. He in the chat. Greetings, everyone. Okay. Yeah. And brother Ferguson, coming with the fire. It's summertime. We about to be up. It's about to be on. I got nothing but time now. So yeah. Just time to hear the answer. I'm gonna tell you this: there is a connection. Will I go into detail today? Nope. I got you. It's the thing is, there is a connection between Sekhmet, the Sphinx, and even the kings of Egypt. There is a connection. I ain't doing that today. See, y'all trying to make me work overtime and everything. Now, bro. No, we're not doing that. But there is a connection, though. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, there is a connection. Okay, there is. It is. And so, yeah, the Lion Temple of Naqa stands today as a silent witness to Black civilization that was in line with cosmic order. Apedemak was not only the Heteru, but he was a mirror of human possibility, lion-shaped reminder to live, to rise, and to rule is to serve people and humanity. For those on the spiritual path, for those who are those who are seeking that kind of knowledge, right? Apedemak still you can see traces of, right? It's not just in words, but in presence. But to deal with that, you got to embrace that. So even though the ancient Kushite form of that kind of knowledge is kind of faded, with the decline of Meroe, his presence lingers in the cultural memory of the region. His line imagery can still be found in crest flags and oral history of the Nubian and Ethiopian people. In many ways, Apedemak embodies a type of African divinity that modern African spirituality is beginning to reclaim. It's not foreign to us. It's not imposed. It's homegrown. Okay? And the world's still struggling to understand intellectual, spiritual depth of Africa's past. The Lion Temple of Naqa and the cult of Apedemak and the Candice Queens hold reminders for us. Okay, they're the torchbearers. They're light bringers. Apedemak wasn't just the Lion Heteru, he was the king maker. So to study Kush is to remember that sacred power of African family, the African womanhood embodied in the Candy Queens who led armies, signed treaties, governed nations, and sat upon the thrones not only by permission, but by divine right, because they had to be made to be queens. They had to be queen. They had to be initiated, right? These were not exceptions to patriarchal norms. They were reflections of a society that was spiritually imbalanced. And to remember Kush is to awaken, is to wake up. Yeah, Kemet is one thing, but Kush, It's a totally different thing, right? To awaken to that ancient spiritual system, the custom that once made the empire thrive, not only by brute force alone, but through initiation, meditation, astrology, metallurgy, and sacred rites. This is the real genius of Kush civilization, where queens ruled like Heteru, and the Heteru was taught through nature, the people who knew the stars because they walked with them. All right, now, so let me see before we go, because we got a little bit of Q&A real quick. Let me see. Queen Meta said, "What? We have to stay tuned to next week." It's gonna be a minute. It's gonna be a minute because I gotta do my homework. I gotta put everything together. I just don't throw stuff out. But yeah, it is in the mix. It is in the works. Okay, Grand Madam Tarot, it is in the mix, and we got to do our finale for the Queens of the South. We got to finish it. We got one more episode. We gotta finish. I couldn't go live Friday because we had to go to Langston University to help my son move again. So that was an adventure. Okay, but yeah, next Sunday we got one more, and that will be it for the Queens of the South. Yeah. So we talked about the political and spiritual power of the Candide Queens. We talked about that. Feminine leadership, Nubian history, symbolism, Lion Temple of Naqa, the esoteric role of Apedemak, Kushite practices, links between ancient Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet, hidden African spiritual systems. Like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I got to do roll call. I got to check roll. All right, now. Oh, so the question is Apedemak in Egypt too? Okay, here I guess the Q&A has started. All right, here we go. All right, no, not in. It is not in the sense of Apedemak. It is Sekhmet. Okay, that's two different things, two different concepts, right? But no, in the short version, no, Apedemak is not in Egypt, but we have another line that's which is Sekhmet. And we have learned that Sekhmet is another form of Heteru, also full of wrath. Because normally we would hear Sekhmet as being the angry form of Baset. But recently, in other traditions, Sekhmet is the wrath form of Heteru. Okay, so question is it Library Without Borders? Shout out to the fam. I want to ask you if you've seen the video circulating about Africa being upside down, and also and also that the size was modified, made smaller, and does the knowledge change the history of Egypt? Okay, yes, I've seen it. It's basically because remember the Nile River. I'll make sure I find a picture of that. But the Nile River goes from south to north, right? So it basically goes in the reverse direction, and so showing the point of origin up south in the Congo, in Uganda and Kenya, going upward. So yes, I've seen that. The size was modified. You can fit a lot of countries in Africa, still have room. So yes, the size was modified. Right now, Greenland is bigger than Africa, and we know that's a lie. Okay. Yeah. So by design, Africa was made smaller. Yeah. By design, Africa was made smaller. And does it change the knowledge of Egypt? Certainly, because the reason why is because it shows that Egypt is not the mother of ancient civilization. It is further inland. It is further in the south in Ethiopia. That's the reason why we got this. This is the reason why we're doing this. Okay. And the reason why another reason why it changes the knowledge of history of Egypt, it excludes a lot of other people. It includes quote unquote sub-Saharan Africans, and it excludes the people of the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. We got to understand, this is a massive mind trick, right? Where they're saying Middle East of what? From what? Okay. And so I understand that I think Volta said the map is not upside down, but I'm saying that there are some maps that do have Africa another way to show the different flow of where the Nile River is going. It's going from south to north. Yeah, the countries are still where they are, but we have to realize that these weren't state line borders. These were 1,000 years ago, 1,000+ years ago, there was no state lines where Egypt is. It was just regions, it was areas. People were just going from one place to the next. Yeah. And this is, remember, these state lines weren't in place until after the Berlin Conference. And that's in the late 1800s, right? So before that, people who lived in Kenya could migrate easily, go to Uganda, and Uganda could easily go into Ethiopia back and forth. Okay. Afro in NAV World says the continent is so large, you to give you an idea, it's about 9 hours from Nairobi, Kenya to Dakar, Senegal by flight. That's a long time. That's a long time. So it says, so it's orientation only for the Nile countries, Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia. True, but you got to understand that these nations weren't isolated. They were also connected to other nations around them. Okay, because remember, Libya also had their kings also, and Chad had their kings also. And so, yeah, I get it. I get it. Now, here we go. Let's see. Roll call. Let me see. Get this roll call real quick. Now, One Voice Africa, shout out to the fam. Solomon, Solomon Food and Vlogs, G-Man, Quest, Queen of Kings, Empress, Mo, Brother Joseph Ferguson, Brother Rashad Davis, Ancient Divinations, Adrian Rice, Library Without Borders, Peggy Harrison, Miss Blue, Indigo Prince, Kudriel Ankara, Kiara Haynes, DFW African American Museum. I'm shout out to Brother Elliot Grant. He's been trying to get me outside, and we're gonna try to connect with the DFW African American Museum and do some work there. It's gonna be pretty cool. Jay Williams, Mark Carroll, and Nudi Davila, General Bunches, Kemetic Nation. Oh yeah, speaking of Kemetic Nation, not only we're gonna try to bring Theo B back, we're gonna try to bring Kemetic Nation back. We're gonna get in on the discussion. Clark Nation Supreme, Didi, Zep Tippy Slim. If you are present, I didn't call your name. Come in here. Yeah. So if you are present, I didn't call your name. Come in here. Yeah. Oh, hold on. In the mountains of Tanzania, there is a resort on the lake where the Nile begins. I saw it. Yeah. That is the source of the Nile. Okay. They said they came from the foothills of the mountains of the moon where God happy dwells. That is that area. Yeah. Yeah. So it was basically a bowl that went that basically pushed the Nile the other direction. Okay. Yeah. And this summer, we have a new series. Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush, a unified sacred art that is coming this summer. Okay. We're going to deal with Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush together this summer. Okay. But we're going to use Ethiopia as our anchor. Okay. And what triggered it is this book here. Okay. The Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire by Sister Drusilla Dungy Houston. We did a book study on this about a year ago, and a lot of people enjoyed the discussion. So we're going to get into it. I will make sure, Grand Madam Taro said, add me to the roll call, please. I'll make sure I add you to our to the roll. Yeah, I'll make sure I do that. Yeah, it is a classic, and it really turned this podcast into a different thing. And because for a while I was doing overviews of various regions. I was using the Lost Cities of Africa by Basil Davison, and we was doing West Africa as a region, South Africa, and so on. And in Ethiopia just really took off. Speaking of that, we got a bonus too. So we still gonna do our Sunday or Monday lives, but we got another one. This is a Thursday. This is going to be pre-recorded. The Ethiopian series, the new series for the summer, Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush. That's going to be live on Sunday or Monday. The Pillars of Power. That's dealing with the esoteric heart of ancient Egypt. That is going to be pre-recorded. That's going to be recorded. A lot of you guys enjoyed the comedic science and esoteric information. So on Thursday we're gonna drop those. So in about another week, I think we're gonna start June 15th. Okay, June 15th, we're gonna start that June 15th, and we got the finale for Queens of the South next Sunday. But after that, I need a week off. I need some. I'm tired. So, but yeah, but after that, it's gonna be like Sunday and Thursday. You'll see episodes from us Sunday and Thursday. And yeah, a lot of fans was talking about they wanted to know about the 7 Heteru. And yeah, the War of the Gods is coming up. So a lot of people last week asked about that. So back then for Queen of the 7 Stars and the War of the Gods. That's gonna be heavy. We're gonna wait. We're gonna deal with the finale and everything, but we're gonna spin a block and deal with these 7 stars. That's something. Okay. And Net, the primordial Egyptian goddess, in her cult in ancient Egypt, because she was part of the primordial order, right? And so we'll deal with that all over the summer also. So because let me see here. Let me see if I can get to it. Now, let me see. I have a list. I have a little list here. So I try to keep myself on track. But summer week, the first week we deal with connecting the dots, sacred links across Northeast Africa. And then we're gonna come back and deal with the Jed Pillar on Thursday, June 19th. And on the 22nd of June, the rise and fall, timelines, invasions, and resilience in Ethiopia. We're gonna deal with that. And then June 26th, the scepter of authority. So between those days, we're gonna deal with Ethiopia, Kush, and so on, and then we deal with some comedic science. That's how we deal with that. All right. Now, books. All right, got some books. We got some books. Now, the link is in the description, but for this summer, okay, there's other books, but I think these books will be good. The Ethiopians of History by Richard Pankhurst and the Keba Nagast. Okay, this summer we will be dealing with Ethiopia a little bit more. So I think my strong suggestion is that you get that, and the link is in the description. But the affiliate link is in the description. So I think that these are some good. I had some other ones. I got this, of course, one for Ethiopian, and this is another good one. Let me get out that. A History of Ethiopia by Harold G. Marcus. This is good. I don't just talk about this. I actually study this. This is something. This is my heart's work right here. This is something that I did while I was at Paul Quinn College in Dallas, and Ethiopia and Sudan became my focus. Brother Ferguson, he said, Kushite science. Yeah, that's loading. That is loading. I got something for it. Oh, hold that thought. Yeah. so these are the books, the Ethiopians in History and Keba Nagast. And to deal with the comedic science, the Kushite science side of it, Temple in Man and Sacred Science is good. Okay. Get that. Check it out. All right. Now, for the fam, this is my new book. This is my new book, Crusades and Jihad in East Africa. I will do a mini series later on in August or September, but this deals with the religious conflicts and their impact. This is during the Middle Age period. This is a lot of whenever people talk about the Middle Ages, they think about the Crusades in Europe or Timbuktu, not realizing that Ethiopia and Sudan got active. All right, so this is a book written by me, and that's also out there. It's on Amazon and all the things. So I'm really happy about that. And so check it out. Now, if you like the content, Librarian Without Borders, Ethiopia and Sudan OU, this endeavor is formidable. No small task. I believe that Ethiopia and Sudan should get their shine also. Okay, that's what I believe. All right, I believe that we can argue all day about what phenotype the ancient Egyptians were and all this kind of thing, and we neglect Sudan and Ethiopia, and they have stories to tell too. Okay, and that's where my heart is. Okay, I do enjoy Kemet, but Ethiopia and Sudan is something else, right? So So if you like the content, share it with someone you think that might enjoy it, or share it on your social media of choice. Yeah. Brother Ferguson says the unseen, it has a concept in comics, and the thievery continues. It do. And but speaking of comics, I'm gonna let Rock With Me Nation and Theo B talk about that. And that was fun. That was fun. And most of the mirror pyramids are in Sudan. Yep. There are more. And get this, I learned that there was about the pyramids of Sudan when I was in college. Like I was all about ancient Kemet for many years. And then when I went to Paul Quinn College and Miss Matthews, we did the African history course, and she told me that there was more pyramids of Sudan than there are in Egypt. I was out of there. That was a wrap for me. Yeah, I really, that was something. And so, yeah, so we talked about the thrones of fire and temples of light, the Candide queens, and esoteric knowledge of ancient Kush. Before I turn you loose, are there any other questions and concerns? Oh, speaking of that, I'm thinking about it. I am in the process. For those who are interested, I am in the process of making some online courses. Okay, I am making some real online courses. Because for those who don't know, I am a teacher for real, and I develop curriculum and things like that for school districts. Now I'm in the process of making our own with the focus on Ethiopia, Sudan, and Kemet. And also, I'm in the process of developing a 12-week consulting course where I would teach people how to teach history. Okay, I've been doing it. I've been in education for this will be my 12th year, and I've taught and mentored teachers and taught them how to teach others. So I think it's time for me to do that for the community also. So what I'm going to do is develop a consulting course, and it will be college intensive. Okay, it will go. And so for those who want to teach history but don't know how to frame it or don't know how to put it together, things like that, this is what it's going to be about. Okay, so I will have some online courses that focus on Ethiopia, Kemet, and Kush, but yeah, I'll deal with how to develop history classes and stuff like that. But have you read Dr. Finch's new book, Now Valid Civilization? No, I haven't. The question is, have you read Dr. Finch's new book, Now Valid Civilization: A 10,000-Year History? I have not. I need to get that. I need to get that. That'll be on my birthday list. That'll be on my wish list. Yeah, I need to check that out. That's a good one. All right. There's some books that I know that stapled are. There's some books that you gotta get. For sure. Dr. Ben's work. Africa, Mother Western Civilization. That's for sure. I don't. For Dr. Anthony Broder, Now Valley Civilization. Yeah, that's a good one. That's another good one. That's a must. Let me see. Where else? So it's very important. And of course, Dr. Chanketja Gil, the African origin of civilization. Yeah. So I don't just talk it, I actually read it, and I binge read them one at a time, especially in this one, then with Dr. Ben, this is more like a workbook. You just can't sit and read that. You got to actually digest this. You got to take your time with this. This is loaded, but you got to get it. If you're serious about that, you got to get it, and you got to break it down. Yeah, so it is a classic, and I think that we got to get back to reading the classics as well as making new classics for the future. So I think that is very important. I think that African history, a history period, is important, but it takes more of us who know how to do it, who know how to. But it's enough. It's enough people out there to argue all day. Make a book, write an article, put it together. Yeah. So Volta had a question: why do Nubians in Egypt speak a different language than the Copts? Time separation. It's there. Now I would say this: there are root words that are the same, but the inflection, the application may be different. And the Coptic people, even though the Coptic language, I'm gonna say the Coptic language is, shout out to the family in Egypt. The Coptic language is a derivative of the Meta Nature. It's a phonic version of the Meta Nature, right? So, but the Nubians in Egypt speak different than language of the Copts because of time and just separation. You see what I'm saying? And truth be told, because it's just even in the United States, there are some terms that we use that may in one area may mean something different in another. Yeah, it's just time and separation. Yeah, but should we reject it? No, I think that we should look into the Coptic language to kind of help get an understanding of the meta nature, or at least bridge the gap. Because I read every now and then. I would look into the Coptic language sometimes. Do I know it fluently? No, but do I try? Yes, I try to read it. Okay, because I know that is a bridge between the old language and the new language. Yeah, so I think it's very important. Any other questions before I turn you loose? Any other questions or concerns before I turn you loose? Thank you guys for hanging with me, for rolling with me, and we're going to try to do this live at least once a week, and do a recap or another video like Thursday towards the end of the week. So I think that works out for me. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like. And all. Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys. And I am doing some other things. I have some other things in mind, but I gotta put pen to paper. I gotta write it. Before I say anything, I gotta write it first. And I know that have been requests. I know that the fam is asking about other connections, other groups like the Congo and many others. We're going to break that down. We're going to get into that. But yeah, I think that in a few weeks we will kick off and deal with Ethiopia, because I think it's important. And then we'll deal with ancient Kush also. So it's a lot of great things that we're going to do. And thank you for rolling with me and being patient. If there are no questions, if there are no concerns, I'm about to turn you loose. Okay. And don't forget, we have, of course, the books. The links are in the description. The books are there. My book, the link for my book is there, and all the things. If there are, so here it is. Okay. The Crusades and Jihad in East Africa. It is out there. Go and get that. If there are any suggestions, let me know. I will do that. If there are any questions, feel free to ask questions in the comments. For those who are on the replay, if you have questions, let me know. If you have concerns, let me know. I try not to go venture way off into the weeds or into some kind of other area. If I don't read it, I don't see it. If it's not in a primary or secondary source or a reputable source, I'm not going to tell y'all. Okay. It's easy to venture off into La La Land like the History Channel has done. Like, bro, everything does not go into the alien category. Everything is not from aliens, bro. I can't do that. So what I do is read the information, read the facts, write, study. That's what it's about. Okay. Because if I don't, this podcast will be nothing more than what other podcasts have become. Okay. I want this, my goal for this podcast is to focus on actual history and some symbolism. Okay. Not all symbolism and a little history. No, I want our foundation to be solid. Okay. And the best way to do that is to have book studies, is to use books as a reference point and not just, just a side note, right? But all right. You listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast, and Ujumbe means message. We talk about thrones of fire and temples of light. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all the things. And I will talk to you later. Oh, by the way, don't forget to, if you want to see the amazing civilization of Ethiopia, if you want to see that video, I have that video out. If you want to catch up with our Ethiopian series, I have the playlist for that, and I will talk to you later. Yeah. Yeah, see you next time. All right, fam. Peace.